Niner Bikes has been due for a bit of a rebirth. The brand is under new ownership, and we're in this new era of a 29er renaissance. What sort of surprises would the new RIP 9 RDO bring us from its home of passion, commitment, and 29ers only? Well, surprising ones.
So, 27.5-inch Niner. What do you think about that?
That's all. That's what we're starting with? There's so much more to this.
I know, but that's what everyone asked about first.
Okay. So to be clear, Will, you and I, we rode an extra large, and there's not a 27.5 available in extra large.
But
I rode the 27.5.
And you can get it in a bunch of sizes too.
Small, medium, large, the usual.
It's a fair amount.
They had apparently gotten feedback over the years that from riders and retailers that they wanted to ride a 27.5 Niner.
Mm-hmm. And rather than do what some brands do, where you keep the same fork and everything's the same, you just put in different wheels. These are two distinctly different frames.
Yeah.
And it seems to be a bike that climbs well, too.
Yeah, we like to pull out the term hover bike for very special occasions.
And this is one warranting it.
Yeah, for
hover
sure.
bike approved.
Mm-hmm. It does really perfectly isolate pedaling force from the suspension.
And it still feels like you get enough sensitivity to really get traction over things, but you're not diving into it, not really wallowing into it. There's nice mid-stroke support.
Yeah, that's definitely what I noticed, the lack of wallowing.
And it doesn't do that by having any sort of wonky high anti-squat values that's going to make it hang up. It's just that supportive mid-stroke.
It also has a generously steep C2 angle, not insane, but it's steep. It's 75.8 in the high setting and 75.2 in the low setting. Those are nice modern numbers. And speaking of modern, it's also gained a little more reach. It has lowered its bottom bracket somewhat, and it's also shortened the chainstay somewhat.
A lot lower standover. You were able to run a 170 post.
Yeah, that was
on a size medium frame.
Size medium. The medium does come spec'd with a 150, but we got a 170. I'm 5'7", and it was perfect.
So all the right ingredients are there. The smart updates made to the RIP's geometry paired well with those made to its suspension. We sense the makings of something we've never seen before from Niner. Something that sheds the identity 29-inch wheels had when Niner was founded. Something, well, surprising.
Didn't you notice, Nicole, that the faster you went, the happier or
I
the
just
better
felt like the
suspension?
suspension really felt its best on kind of the faster, chunkier, technical kind of terrain. That's when I really was like, this suspension is awesome. That's when it came alive to me.
And I think part of that is progressivity, and it's a natural progressivity. It's not because there's a big hockey puck of a volume spacer in there. It's got the second smallest volume spacer out of the box, and it's already this really nice supportive feel.
Yeah, and it doesn't feel like it ramps up all of a sudden. You know what to expect, but there's that nice mid-stroke support that really just works well with the off-the-top supple feel.
And this is the first Niner to have a flip chip adjustment in it, and it's a big chip. Yeah, you get a full degree slacker in the head angle when you put it in the low position. You get 7 millimeters lower bottom bracket, and that's kind of like with every other bike with a flip chip. That's where I ran it. I ran it in low, and I liked it mostly because it gave you a little higher stack height and just poised me a little more to thrash it, to live it up to its thrashability. And it made me think of a bike that I never thought I would think of when riding a Niner, which is the Evil Offering.
I mean, it's an interesting comparison because I would say the kind of perceived Niner customer could not be further from the perceived evil customer. It's interesting. I feel like they're kind of going to appeal to possibly a whole new kind of audience with this bike.
And I think, to be clear, the people who aren't out to thrash every single descent, that high position is not conservative or anything.
It doesn't force you into a really aggressive position.
Yeah.
You don't have to be, you're not gonna be hanging on for dear life.
And the frame got significantly stiffer this year. I mean, I never had any complaints on early Niners with stiffness, but they wanted to address that, so they put these little buttresses. Yeah, struts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And they sit right on either side of the shock, and one of them sits pretty much right in front of the valve.
And that's a little tricky for setup. Now, it should be noted that every one of these RIP RDOs is actually going to ship with the adapter zip tied to the bike. So
Actually, I think it's like clipped onto the bike.
Clipped on,
Like there's
yeah.
a spot for it. You can take it on and off, and so it's sort of always there.
And it's something that we deal with it a lot because when we're testing bikes, we're trying different sags all the time. I mean, like we spend a lot higher percentage of our riding experience playing with air pressure. The end user, it's really something you're gonna kind of set and forget. So when Niner was developing it, the valve was 90 degrees. That changed. They're like, no, like we like what these struts are doing. We don't want them any higher or lower. And I really think that once you get over that setup, you know what to think about it.
And they really wanted to, they were committed to the Fox DPX2 shock. They possibly could have swapped it for something that wouldn't have interference with the valve interface, but I mean, I personally love that shock. So the trade-off to me is worth it.
And it's neat to see that on every level of build for these bikes, from 2-star up, you get that DPX2
Yeah.
rear shock,
That's it, yeah.
Every build also gets a 36 fork.
which was really nice to see. It's a reduced offset 36 for both 27.5 and 29-inch. And it's nice having a little bit more travel up front. It just seems like that thrash it style that it seems like it likes.
Yeah.
We saw guide RSC brakes on here, which I thought were totally adequate, felt good, decent power, but this is a ripper bike. It doesn't seem like codes would be
Wouldn't be out of
too
place.
much.
Yeah.
Which kind of makes me wonder about the value part of the equation on this bike.
Yeah.
This is not an inexpensive bike. You're paying a fair amount of money for this bike. You get performance parts, but maybe it's not geared towards somebody who's hunting for more of a value. Niner's always been a boutique brand,
Yeah.
and this bike still seems to carry that style.
Yeah, the NX entry level is 4,400, so I mean, you can obviously find something more value oriented.
But at least that one, you've already got a 36 chassis, it's got the DPX2 shock, it's got a rad frame. I mean, everything on there that you really don't want to have to change is pretty dialed.
Yeah,
Put
that's a
some new
good
brakes
point.
on it, and it's a good machine.
Yeah.
Totally.
There were some pretty nice little design touches on the frame. One not little one is a threaded bottom bracket. We love seeing those. And then right below that bottom bracket on the lower CVA link, there's a plastic bash plate, like bolts on. I mean, it's so moto.
Which is pretty sweet, and also that it's plastic, you slide over rocks more.
And the cable routing is internally tubed, slides right through. Front and rear, actually. It's rare they do it on the rear triangle.
Not only that, you can fit really big tires in this frame. 2.6-inch tires that they claim can fit some real mud, and full-size 2.6.
Yeah, and I actually think, I don't know how you guys feel about the 29er, but the 27.5 would be rad with 2.6 tires. I actually think that'd be a really good choice for that bike.
It was hard to find a box the new RIP 9 RDO did not check. Believe us, we looked. It's not that we doubted that Niner could produce a bike like this, we've just never seen one before. It's got the comfort and efficiency of our favorite backcountry Chargers, as well as the mischievous bloodlust of our favorite wide-open Thrashers. More so than any other bike Niner has ever made, the new RIP lives up to its name.